Gamers, what's good? You wanted a Dino list? I mean, I have a Dino list, but I don't think you're gonna like it. I've seen the Sam list, okay? I'm on a 5-game win streak right now. We just got to Master 3 with this deck, so I do feel pretty comfortable saying that I think this is the best way to play Dinos right now. I mean, I would have loved to drop a Dino deck profile like the day of release, but I really wanted to test it out and just get a better idea of how it plays, because I don't want to like lead you guys into building something suboptimal, especially not for a deck that's naturally as bricky as Dinos. Like, we're trying to avoid bricks as much as possible. So here's the list, and yeah, I know a lot of people are not going to like this list. For one, I'm not running a normal to search off of my Xeno Meteorus. Basically means we're not running a payoff for Meteorus. I'm literally just using Meteorus as a solid extender and target for ground Xeno. It's also a good way to threaten Baron de Fleur. That way, like, if they stop your regular Dino combo while you're under Misk, well, you can at least like use a level 4 in Xeno, go into Baron and summon UCT and pass on that worst case scenario. So this card is still really good even if you're not running the payoff. I'm not trying to get Xeno locked, but the Xeno lock is not really the issue. My issue with it is I'm not trying to run a normal monster in this deck. Dinos are already bricky enough as is. I don't want to run a normal monster. I don't like it, so I'm not running it. In the extra deck here, we're also not running the Transcendrake fusion. I know a lot of people would like to see that fusion with the cross sheep. I know Sam's doing it, and you know, all the cool kids are doing it, but I'm not doing it. I don't want to run the fusion because I don't want to run the normal. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. The fusion is pretty good, but I really don't think it's worth it. Personally, I'm not saying if you run it, you're bad or anything like that. This is just, I think, a more optimal build for the current format. If we just look at Sam's list here really quick, because it's a pretty good example of like the other way of playing Dinos. Let me go fetch it real quick. I'm not saying it's a bad list or anything like that. I definitely don't think it's a bad list. My issue is like, I'm looking at all the garnets in a deck like this. Yes, by the way, this deck will have a better combo. It'll have a better going first board. It'll literally, like, when you go first with this deck, your deck is better than my deck. I'll just say that right now. You're running the scrap engine, so you have to run the Lost World, and you're running the normal monster because you want to run the fusion. You have a lot of garnets in your deck, or like cards that are just like non-starter. And to be fair, that's kind of like the name of the game with Dinos. A lot of Dino has always been basically 2-card combos. But I don't really like a list like this because it doesn't have any space for Droll, which is like a game-winning card right now, a super important card. The extra deck has no space for the Secure Gardena, which, like, I think if you're not playing Secure Gardena in Dinos, you're just asking for trouble. Like, you're asking to lose. Because like you will inevitably break sometimes, and that Secure Gardena is just so important for those like really bad situations. Also, not running a Zeus at all. But anyway, this is not a deck review. I'm not here to say your deck is bad, Sam. I really am not. I do think this is like a very respectable way to play Dinos, but I still think I'm coal-pilled. I'm fully Colosylat pilled. I think the Colosylat build of Dinos leaves a lot more space for the staples of the game, like Droll, for instance here. Like, Droll is so crazy. Droll is winning me so many games right now, so you need the space for Droll. Having like 3 Maxi, 3 Ash, 3 Droll, and you know, 2 called by the cross out, like this stuff I feel is just so necessary right now. And having a build like this where even if you draw like Petite Ranodon, you can run 2 because Petite plus like OV, Petite plus Misk, Petite plus even like Archosaur is still full combo. You definitely can't say that about a lot of Dino decks. So I really like this build. Colosylat is a super slept on card for Dinos. I will die on this hill, dude. This card is just really good. You can even like, you can get in niche situations where ground Xeno can actually search the Colosylat, and that can actually help you because you can use a Colosylat. Obviously, you can special summon it to make your Cupid pitch, but you can also use it for Gigantic Sprite. Now, I know you might be looking at Gigantic Sprite like, why are you playing this? That's because we're playing Downard, and going second, we can make a 4 material Zeus, which I think is a lot better than just having the access code Talker into back row. The 4 material Zeus is just a really good way, in my opinion, to play into back row decks. Obviously, playing into back row decks is hard in general for Dinos. It really depends on what they have, but Floodgates do affect Dinos a lot, so it's not like you'll always get away scot-free. A lot of the time, when you see Floodgates, you're kind of like, okay, I gotta go for game ASAP. So yeah, I'm not saying this build is like perfectly fine-tuned for that, but definitely being able to just like use your elf to go into Gigantic to then go into like a swing with Gigantic, make a Downard, make a 4 material Zeus. That shit is really solid. It's really strong. Shout out to Arrowman Mike actually for that tech option. If you guys don't like the list, I'm sorry, but I'm on a 5-game win streak in Master, so it's not like you can tell me that it's not a good way to play Dinos. I genuinely think it's better than playing the scrap engine and a whole bunch of garnets. The only card you can even remotely call a garnet in this list is like the Giant Rex. Giant Rex, I guess you could technically call it Garnet because you really only want it in deck or in grave. You don't really want this card in your hand usually. The only reason I keep running Giant Rex is because I still see a Rise Heart from time to time, and being able to just send Giant Rex and make like a rank 4 just to swing and make a Zeus is pretty damn important when you're facing a Rise Heart, because otherwise Dinos cannot play into a Microcosmos. The Xeno stuff for me is really only here to add consistency to the deck. Ground Xeno popping a baby, you know, just making it more consistent. Also, just getting that free body of Xeno on the field sometimes. You can make at least a Baron on a pretty bad hand. Like if you had like Giant Rex, another card in hand, and you know, you just pop a different card with Ground Xeno, summon the Xeno Meteorus, normal Giant Rex. At least you get a Baron de Fleur, right? So I definitely think Ground Xeno is a really, really good card for the deck. I'm just not a fan of a lot of the Transcendrake stuff. I don't think it's like quite good enough. And until we get Lars, I don't think it's worth running a normal monster in your deck. The payoff off of Meteorus is not good enough. I really don't want to disappoint you guys, but I want to keep it 100. I think playing the Cole line that we've been playing is still probably the best way to play Dinos in terms of at least consistency and flexibility. I'm just not a fan of playing the super high rolly Dino deck. It doesn't struggle at making a good board. It struggles at being consistent. So those are the issues I want to address the most, right? So anyway, guys, without further ado, we're going to do some live gameplay. We're going to do maybe some replays, stuff like that. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And let's get into it. Let's see if we can get some good live gameplay of the deck. Preferably going first. Going second, it's a lot of just draw the hand trap or lose, like pretty much every deck in this format right now. Going first, it's don't brick, basically. Try not to brick. Okay, this is a weird one. Colosilat, we have to special first. Yeah, this is not going to be a standard combo. Corridor in hand is going to help a bit, make our board better, but we didn't really draw the 2-card combo, so we're going to have to like kind of build a board here instead of doing like our, you know, our flowcharty combo. Let's do this. We'll grab a Misk here. Yep. So we'll get UCT and Colossus for sure. I could go like OV, pop, Colosilat, bring back Misk, make Dugares, draw 2, discard 1, but then we don't draw next turn. Honestly, I think I'm just going to ball here. I'm just going to go for it. Let's pop Cole here. Pop Cole, bring back Misk, bring back the Misk. We're going to go into a Dugares. This is really silly, I know, but the hand is not great. At least we are guaranteed a Colossus, so like that's why I'm willing to ball a little bit here and take the risk. So we'll draw 2, discard 1. Drew into Ash and Pill. Yeah, I don't love that. I don't love it, but it's not the worst, I guess. We could have went for a guaranteed Pill. Basically, we're ending up with pretty much the same board that we would have gotten regardless. Yeah, we'll discard the Ash. We'll keep Ovi for the grind game. Wait, can we afford? Yeah, we can afford to Misk for 2. Okay, perfect. So let's go Pill here. Pill, banish Ovi and Ash. We have to banish every Dino from our grave to do this. This is like very substandard. Definitely not the board we want to see. With the hand we had, we couldn't do much, so like it is what it is. And since we can't draw next turn, I really needed to hold on to this OV. That's why we had to discard that Ash. And then we can go Misk for 2. Misk for 2. We're gonna make an elf. We're gonna have an elf protect our corridor. Well, not our corridor, but I mean our Colossus. And with Petite, we can get a Pank on our opponent's turn. So we use these two. We'll make ourselves a Sprite Elf. It's not ideal, but for the hand we had, I think it's pretty playable. At the cost of my draw next turn, I'm okay with it. Shuffle back the Misk. Here's Corridor. And let's go for Colossus. Perfect. By the way, fun thing about this play is if they out the Elf, Elf is a Thunder, so we get an extra way to protect Colossus. So not only does Elf protect Colossus from targeting, but then if they try to out the Elf just to be able to out Colossus, we get an extra destruction protection from it. So, I mean, all in all, not too bad. We get a good pop target off of UCT next turn. We have UCT and Colossus protected from Imperm. Not the worst. Also, Colossus is insane right now because Colossus basically demolishes Super Heavy Samurai. They can't really play through it. It's really, really hard for them to play through a Colossus. So let's see what we're up against here. If they have a Kaiju or something. Oh, this deck also loses. Yeah, okay. Normal summon used. The only other thing you could do is eat Telly. I don't even think... Can you even activate Xiamin? I don't even think so. So I'm going to actually wait a little bit here. You can't even activate Xiamin under Colossus. So we can actually afford to wait a little bit. Ogre Dance Tribute to Summon is completely fine with me. We don't care about that at all. Here's Ogre Dance. Anything else? Oh, the attack gain? Sure, that's fine. No problem there. If they try to go to battle phase, then we're going to use UCT. Okay, trying to go to battle phase, we're going to go for UCT effect, which is going to gain attack. And now UCT, we're going to pop the Petite, flip that down. Petite effect, we'll get a... we're going to go grab a Pank here. Do I care about you getting a single draw? No, you can have that draw. That's fine with me. I am going to chain Elf here right now, though. That's okay with me, because if they summon anything, we'll just pop it with Pank. They can't add cards to hand. They can't pay life points, so they can't summon the Gold Pride cards if that's what they're playing. Like, this Pank alone should be able to carry. Should be. Should be enough. We'll see. Alright. Get your draw. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, easy money, easy money, easy money. See, so, like, that looked really bad. And that Dugares was definitely pretty ballsy. But that still went pretty good. I would say that went really well, right? Especially against Punk there. Well, that's just because Colossus is crazy. Colossus solos Vanadium. It solos Super Heavy Samurai. It solos Punk as well. It's just a crazy card in this format, honestly. But yeah, I'm really happy with that live gameplay. What we'll do is we'll go to solo room to show the actual full combo, like if you have a real hand, because that was like a build a board type of situation, right? All right, so here we are in solo mode with a very playable hand and a beautiful mate by our side. This hand is absolutely insane. It's the perfect hand, really, to show you full combo. So I'm just going to go Fossil Dig here. We can actually add Xeno Meteorus, even though it's not really a necessary chunk of your combo. Since we have everything else, there's really no need not to add it. So we're going to go Misk here. I'm going to hold the OV. It's really good to have in the grind game. So, you know, since we have the cross out in hand in case they were to Ash the Misk, I would definitely just go for Misk here. Misk effect, banish from grave, summon an Archosaur from the deck. Here's the little boy. I think they should have made this guy the mate. I'm not mad at the OV mate, by the way. I'm really not. I just think Archosaur would have been a good mate. Either way, pop the baby. Baby, grab pill with Archosaur, then baby effect. We're going to summon an OV Raptor, and we're also going to trigger our Xeno Meteorus. And I want to always throw this guy at the leftmost of the field. I'm usually using the right side of the field for my link summoning and stuff. So just so he doesn't, like, you know, interact with my link arrows there. And let's summon out the shiny OV that we got. So OV, still haven't used our normal summon, so we're going to go grab ourselves a copy of Baby. Here's the Baby, add it to hand, yep. And yeah, like I said, this card is really mostly here for insurance to make sure we get a Baron de Fleur. Worst case scenario, if our opponent has Nibiru, I'll show you why. So here we go, like OV, pop the Baby. And bring back the other Baby from the grave. Be careful not to pick the one at the left, because that's the one you popped and you won't get its effect. Then Baby triggers. We can summon from our deck a Colosylat. Here he is. And, okay, at this point, what happens is we make like a Linkuriboh using these two. Well, this one, make a Linkuriboh. This is just to get a non-dino in the grave. And then you want to make an elf. So at this point, they could trigger, like, they could already trigger Nib. But if they trigger Nib, like, here, we still would be able to go Baron with the Colossal, because we could chain the Sprite Elf to Nibiru. So really, they would have to nib the Linkuriboh. The odds of them doing that are pretty low, but there's other points in this line where they can do it. So here we would grab our Colosylat from the grave. You always use the Colosylat to make the Elf if you have Meteorus on the field. Because if they stop your Elf, like if they imperm your Elf, for example, you can make Baron using the Meteorus and the Oviraptor. So again, this is like insurance that you get a Baron de Fleur if you don't get your full combo. Here's another point where they could nib that is really, really strong, actually. We already used our Elf effect. We make ourselves our Cupid Pitch using Baby as well as Colosylat. So here's the Cupid Pitch. And Cupid Pitch will gain 2 stars here. You want to increase the level. So it goes up to level 6. Here, if they go Nibiru, this is basically the best spot to Nibiru our deck. But now, if they did go Nibiru, at least we have the Xeno Meteorus, who would be able to make a Baron, go double Evolution Pill. So we would have Baron UCT, worst case scenario, you know? Of course, we're playing against the bot, and they didn't have Nibiru, but I just want to say, this is the main utility of Xeno Meteorus in our deck. Otherwise, it just kind of sits on the field. It also, like, if it sticks around in the grind game, you can use it with a Baby to make a Savage, like, on turn 3, which can come up. So, like, that's basically all it does for us, honestly, other than being, like, a good Xenoground target. So here we go. We get our Cupid Pitch effect, do a little bit of burn, grab ourselves a Nemesis Corridor. And, yeah, obviously, we're going to go for the Corridor here, shuffle back the Misk. So here we go. Now, of course, if they wanted to go Nib, it would be pretty bad because we could just Baron the Nib, so we don't really have to worry about Nib anymore. make ourselves an untargetable Colossus. I genuinely think Colossus under Elf is like one of the best things you can do in Master Duel right now. It clears so many decks, like completely clears Super Heavy Samurai. Really hard to deal with even for Vanadium. Like you saw earlier, it was hard to deal with a Colossus even for Pride Punk. So yeah, it's just crazy. Obviously here we go double evolution pill. And we'll banish the Archosaur. And leave the Linkuriboh in the grave. Just banish the Cupid Pitch instead if you have it, because Linkuriboh can be used later if you make a Savage Dragon on turn 3. So banish the Cupid Pitch instead now. And yeah, get yourself a nice UCT on the field. There you go. That's full combo. I know it looks exactly the same. That's about the whole combo. Again, Xeno Meteorus. I'm not using it for a payoff. I don't want to use it for a payoff. I don't want no normal monsters in my deck, but I'm going to go show you Xeno Ground in action now. So this should be a pretty good hand to see the Ground Xeno in action. We have UCT Pank in hand. Pank is kind of a Garnet as well. I forgot to mention that at the start. So we'll go Fossil Dig here. Now we could grab a baby to just pop with Ground Xeno, or we could just like go for normal OV, then pop a baby with the Ground Xeno. That's probably a little bit better. In this case, I think I'm better off just going for an OV, especially since we already have UCT in hand. So we're going to have a pretty good board here. So let's go for OV. OV effect. We're going to grab ourselves a baby. Grab the baby Ceresaurus. Just like that. Then we can go Ground Xeno. Yep, Ground Xeno. Grab a Meteorus. And we can pop the baby in the hand. Then baby effect will trigger. We're going to summon ourselves a copy, another copy of the baby actually. So summon the baby here. Then we can go OV, pop the baby. I forgot to trigger Xeno Meteorus, so we're just going to trigger it here instead. Completely forgot. I like right click, but it's cool. We get another opportunity to do it here by popping the baby. It's not really that big a deal, honestly, because Xeno Meteorus is not really a part of our end board. It's more so just some extra insurance. But baby effect here, we could go for a Misk here. Reason I'm grabbing Misk is because I'll be able to banish it from the grave. So when we search our corridor, we'll have a banished card, because otherwise we will not have one. What we do here, since we have Misk and baby, is we're going to use baby and Misk, and we're going to make ourselves a Sprite Elf using these two. We want to get that Misk in the grave to be able to banish it, and Elf will be able to bring back the baby that we need. So here we can go Misk effect, banish 2. We'll banish the baby and Misk to summon the Colosylat. So here's Colosylat. And from here we have access to our full line basically. So grab the baby in the grave. Very good. And then we get to do, just like you saw earlier, literally the same thing. Literally exactly the same thing. It's a bit of a weird way to get to it. Now the board is really only the same because I had UCT here. Obviously you might play this differently depending on what you have in hand. In this case I had UCT, so I went for this line. This is literally the same board. And yeah, it's really good. I mean, Ground Xeno does help you be able to play with weirder hands. Dino definitely feels better now that we have just another really solid way of popping babies, or just like adding an extender to our plays. Just the fact that Xeno Meteorus is a tuner also makes it so if we don't have access to our combo, at least being able to get to a Baron de Fleur using like an OV plus Meteorus is also really good. But yeah, that's about it for the solo mode stuff. As for replays here, I have a pretty interesting one actually. This was my 5th win in my 5-game win streak. And it's a really weird one because my hand looks really bad. And we do something with Ground Xeno that you can't really do in other builds of this deck. So basically, my opponent starts off with Maxi. We go Ash Blossom. Obviously, we don't want to deal with that at all. But yeah, so here we're left with Pank, Corridor, Misk, and Ground Xeno. So clearly, with a hand like this, you can't really go full combo. But here's what I do. And this is going to give Gigantic some extra value in the deck. Usually Gigantic is there to make Zeus, but in this scenario in particular, it does something else. So we go Ground Xeno. Ground Xeno can grab any Dino tuner. So we can actually grab Colosylat, which in this replay actually comes up. So we pop the Pancratops, grab Colosylat, and then we can special Colosylat from our hand. Now, keep in mind, Colosylat, if you use his effect as special from hand, you actually can't use it as a link material. So here I'm going to go Misk effect, Misk in the grave, banish Misk and the Pancratops to summon a baby. Go Corridor effect, shuffle back my Misk, so that way we get access to our Colossus. So Colossus in this format is absolutely insane. My plan here was just to make a protected Colossus. So using these two, we can go into Gigantic Sprite. Then we can use Gigantic Sprite effect, detach, summon a Petite from the deck, and make an Elf. And now we have a untargetable Colossus. And obviously, this took my whole hand. My hand was really bad. So is this the best thing ever? No. but it did win me the game. Now, I will say there was an alternative route I could have taken that Arrowman Mike pointed out to me. What I could have done is I could have searched a Xeno Meteorus as you normally would with the ground Xeno. Then after that, basically, you would just normal summon the Misk and you would make Baron de Fleur. You could use Misk effect in the grave to summon a baby. Then you could go Baron effect, pop the baby, summon Ovi, and with the Ovi, we could have searched a UCT or something. We couldn't summon UCT, and we could have just summoned the Corridor, shuffle back the Misk, and make ourselves a Colossus. So we would have had a Baron Colossus, which debatably is better. I kind of like having untargetable Colossus, so I'm not sure which is actually better. Probably the Baron plus Colossus line was a bit better, but still, I think this was a really interesting show of like, you can actually do some interesting things with Colosyllad being searchable with the ground Xeno. So I definitely wanted to show this replay just for that. Here we bring back the Petite, and we pass turn on this. Basically, our opponent draws, and they're probably playing super heavy or something because they literally have no place into Colossus, so they just pass here. We draw into UCT, which is ridiculous. So we bring back the baby, make ourselves an access code talker just to get some nice attack numbers, special UCT, and just swing for game. Easy like that. But yeah, I just kind of like this replay just to show you can do other things than search Xeno Meteorus in some fringe situations. But debatably getting Meteorus would have still been better. Anyway, and you know what? I'll do another clutch hand here. We'll do a clutch replay, just showcasing some weird hands that you don't get full combo, and you know, just showing the applicability of the cards in the current format. So here we're actually playing going first against Super Heavy Samurai, and our hand looks insane, but it's not as good as you think. So we special out the Colosyllad, which can't be used as link material since we specialed it, and then they ash the Fossil Dig, which basically means we don't have Dino 2-card combo. Obviously, if these two Fossil Digs went through, our hand was insane, but with only one Fossil Dig, we grab an Ovi, and it's not nearly as good, but we still can do a couple of things here. I'm going to go for Ovi Raptor. We're going to grab ourselves a Misk, and this is where it gets pretty frustrating. I activate Misk, go for Misk effect, and we get Maxied. So we have to play into Maxi here against Super Heavy Samurai. So basically, I'm putting my eggs into one single basket, which is that they don't draw into Wakaushi. I need them to not draw into Wakaushi because we can interrupt their normal summon. We can't interrupt two summons with this. So here we go. Secure Gardna. And then we can activate the double evolution pill, banish the Animadorn as well as the Linkuriboh to summon out the UCT. I don't want to give them any more draws, so I'm passing on this. And yeah, my logic is basically we have Maxi. We could potentially draw into some interruptions, worst case scenario, or maybe into a baby if they do start off with the Wakaushi. The main thing with Super Heavy Samurai is if you interrupt their normal summon, then you got to interrupt their Wakaushi, or if you're lucky, they won't have it. And then the only play they have left is to special Stealthy if they have it, but usually they don't because they only run one copy of Stealthy. So here I'm putting my eggs into one single basket, and that's that if I can flip down their normal summon, they don't have more plays. So we go for UCT to flip down their normal summon of Soul Piercer. They chain the Ghost Ogre, which is kind of annoying here. But we do get to flip that down. I pop my Link Monster since Gardna can't be used as Link material. And we draw into our Garnet Giant Rex. So what do? Wee ball, baby. I'm going to make a Dugaras here. We're going to detach 2 to draw 2 and discard 1. I discard the Pank. We drew into Corridor, which is massive. We get drolled, but we really don't care. Corridor, summon Colossus. Colossus is a droll on legs. Super Heavy Samurai cannot play into the Colossus. Like, it's really, really hard for Super Heavy Samurai to deal with Colossus. So here we go. Swing with Colossus. Here, I'm going to actually make a Zeus. My logic for making Zeus here is that if they find a way to get rid of Colossus, like they have to get rid of Colossus to play, and then if they do destroy the Colossus, I'm going to get to attach it as material to my Zeus, and now I can use Zeus. So it's kind of like some insurance, I guess. It's better than nothing is my logic here. So here they go, and they draw and they don't have anything, right? So, I mean, nothing too crazy. Really, I'm just showing you like a struggle board with Dinos. But yeah, like, you know, even with like pretty bad hands and like suboptimal boards, Dinos are actually still like decent this format. Obviously, though, if they had Wakaushi there, I lost the game. So, like, you know, I'm not saying that was like the best showcase ever or anything. All right, so time for the card by card. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It is Dinos. I don't think this deck is any higher than Rogue, even if I think my build is better than the typical like scrap build that has like a crazy going first combo. I think it's still one way or the other going to be about Rogue, you know. You're still going to brick sometimes. You're still going to have unplayable hands at times where you're just like T-set and pass. That's just Dinos, you know. They're all 2-card combos at the end of the day, whether we like it or not. I just like this build a bit more because we can play more game-winning staples, and also because with this deck at least, it feels like if you don't have full combo, you can often put up a better board than the other type of build. So yeah, you know, like your plan Bs and plan Cs are not as bad, I would say. That being said though, let's just go through the card by card here. Obviously we're playing 3 Droll. This is one of the main reasons I think you should build this kind of variant, because I think Droll is an absolute must play. 2 copies of Archosaur, 3 copies of Baby, triple Maxi. We're actually playing 2 Petite. In this deck, Petite plus Misk or Petite plus Ovi is actually full combo. So yeah, that Petite is really good in this deck. It's better than in the other build. Colosylat, this is basically what our whole deck revolves around. Just the fact that we have that combo with the Cupid Pitch to get into Colossus is super important. 3 copies of Ash, I still think this is a must play because Maxi exists. 1 copy of Giant Rex, just for those weird matchups. If you don't want to play Giant Rex, that's respectable. It's 1 less Garnet in your deck. However, your deck will be a lot worse at playing through Droll. 3 copies of Misk, obviously, this is the best Dino. 3 copies of Ovi, second best Dino. 1 copy of Corridor. This card is amazing. Even if you draw it, it's not really a Garnet because Colossus is just a game-winning card right now. 1 copy of Meteorus as just a great search target for Ground Xeno that can threaten a Baron de Fleur. 1 copy of Pankratops. I'm not too sure if I want to keep running Pank, honestly. It's not bad for sure, but oftentimes I draw this card and I'm like, I do not need this, or I already have bodies on my field. The main reason I am running it and I'm keeping it for now is because on your opponent's turn, you know, when you have your elf set up and everything, you can bring back a Petite, and then UCT can pop Petite, and depending on if you think you'll need a Misk, or if you think you'd rather have another interruption, it turns a 3 interruption board into a 4 interruption board. We have obviously the 1 copy of Nib. This is also removable. It really rarely will actually successfully resolve against Super Heavy Samurai. Honestly, I think I'm just going to remove it right now. I'd rather have less cards in my deck. It hasn't really come up for me. I like having it as a payoff for Maxi, but a lot of the time it's just not enough. 2 copies of Double Evolution Pill, triple Fossil Dig, triple Ground Xeno. Yes, this card is great. It adds consistency to the deck. It makes it more likely that you can pop a baby. And even if you can't pop a baby with it, just the extender that it gives you allows you to maybe go into a Baron with a hand that wasn't full combo, stuff like that. So it definitely helps you have a good plan B or plan C. So definitely a must run. I would say 2 copies of Called By, 1 copy of Crossout, and 1 copy of Imperm. In the extra, we're running the Colossus, obviously, the Cupid Pitch. Savage, this one's a bit removable. I pretty much never summon this guy, honestly. So if you want the flex spots, I would say Dugarez, although I actually do use Dugarez to like fix my hands and sometimes go for game pretty often. Savage, again, I never summon this card. I'm really only running it because I have this Meteorus here that's just doing nothing. So I'm like, well, in the grind game, maybe. It's come up once for me so far, so I might replace this. Honestly, a Coral Dragon is really good. Sometimes there are niche scenarios where you would like to have a level 6 Synchro Tuner to be able to use like, you know, your Colosylat plus a level 4 and another level 4 on the field to get the Baron de Fleur. So I would say in those scenarios, Coral could be good as a replacement. Otherwise, you know, you can figure that out. Pentastag's a good card too. We have obviously the Baron, Gigantic Sprite with the Downer and the Zeus. This is just a great combo. I really recommend it. You're already playing Elf in Dinos, so why not run the Gigantic package? It's honestly so easy to get to. I'd say this is a much easier to get to Zeus package than the Chaka 9 package. Like getting to an Elf in this deck is just too easy. Especially since we're running the Colosylat, which we can actually search off of Ground Xeno. Going second, that's actually pretty useful. You can go Ground Xeno, search Colosylat, and then basically, if you have any other level 2 monster, you normal summon it, use Colosylat plus your level 2, go straight into the Gigantic Sprite. That way you don't activate anything, and you can swing with Gigantic and make a Zeus and just clear the board. Obviously, we have the Dolka, we have the Dugaras, like I talked about, the Link Rebo Secure Gardna. I don't think you should ever remove this package. I mean, sometimes you'll break and you really need it. The IP Masquerena, an Elf, and the Unicorn, as well as Access Code. Unicorn, IP Masquerena, really useful in this deck, especially when you have to kind of go for a plan B. Just being able to set up like a IP Masquerena under Elf, then on your opponent's turn, you know, Elf bring back a baby, then you can make a Unicorn. It's a really useful interruption to have access to, so I definitely would not remove it. Overall, I am happy with this deck list, and I've been doing pretty well in Master. I'm pretty confident I could get to Master 1 actually with this list. There's a bunch of deck profiles for those very high rolly Dino decks that just like do crazy combos. Me personally, I think I've said this in another video, but I just didn't really want to focus on pushing the ceiling up. If anything, I really just want to push the consistency up because that's the biggest flaw with Dinos. So yeah, that's going to be for me. Hope you guys appreciate the video anyway, and peace.